Hello and welcome to the day ahead. It is Monday, December the 1st. I'm Andrew Gagan. Well, the Australian share market is set for a modestly higher opening to begin the week and the new month, with ASX futures up marginally. This after the ASX 200 lost 3% in November, its worst month since March. Global stocks rose on Friday amid little market-moving news, while a truncated session on Wall Street after Thanksgiving Day saw stocks finish higher in thin trading, with tech and retail stocks leading the gains. For the week, the S&P 500 rose 3.75%, the Nasdaq gained almost 5%, and the Dow climbed more than 3%. For the month, the S&P and Dow ended marginally positive, but the Nasdaq lost 1.5% over the course of November. On Friday, Intel helped lead the S&P 500 gains with a 10% gain, after an analyst said the company would begin shipping Apple's lowest end-to-end processor as early as 2027, whereas Nvidia was one of the worst performers on the S&P. Other notable movers included Eli Lilly, which fell, while Moderna shares jumped higher. And the silver miners surged as the metal hit record highs on rate cut hopes. And global futures markets were disrupted for several hours on Friday after CME Group, the world's largest exchange operator, suffered one of its longest outages in years, halting trading across stocks, bonds, commodities and currencies. Well, there was little data to speak of out of the US at the end of the week, while in Europe data showed Eurozone growth and inflation remain on a benign path, supporting economists' bets that no further European Central Bank rate cuts are coming in the near future. However, inflation in Germany rose 2.6% year on year, above forecasts of 2.4%. In response, ECB President Christine Lagarde said, "The interest rates we settled on at the last meetings are, in my view, set correctly. I keep saying that we're in a good position given the inflation cycle, which we've managed to get under control." In China, the manufacturing PMI rose but remains in contraction at 49.2, while the non-manufacturing PMI fell into contraction. US Treasury yields rose on Friday amid low volumes after the US Thanksgiving Day holiday. The US two-year Treasury yield rose to 3.5%, while the 10-year was just above 4%. Markets pricing in an 85% chance the Fed funds rate will be cut by 25 basis points at the next meeting on December 11th, with a total of 4 more cuts in this easing cycle. The US dollar has seen its worst weekly performance since July, as traders increase their bets of a Fed rate cut. The Aussie is trading at 65.5 US cents. Crude futures fell marginally on Friday as investors considered oil's geopolitical risk premium amid drawn-out Russia-Ukraine peace talks. This was ahead of a meeting over the weekend of OPEC and its allies, who agreed to keep oil output levels unchanged through the end of 2026, reaffirming their production control framework amid mounting concerns over a looming supply glut and weakening prices. Crude futures fell 0.8% to $62 a barrel. Copper rose more than 1.5%. Iron ore fell 1.7% to $105 a tonne. And gold rose to a 2-week high on Friday on US rate cut expectations. Spot gold up 1.7% to $4,230 an ounce. And Bitcoin is trading at around $91,000. Ahead locally this week, we get a read of national home values today from Cotality, as well as the Melbourne Institute inflation gauge, ANZ's job ads as well for November, and inventories and company profits for the September quarter. Tuesday sees building approval data for October, while Wednesday, the GDP growth figures for the September quarter are released. Thursday, October's international trade balance, as well as the household spending indicator. Overseas, tonight, US ISM manufacturing index and Fed Chair Jerome Powell speaks. Wednesday, US private payrolls, as well as import and export prices, industrial production and the ISM services index. And Friday, US personal income and spending, as well as consumer sentiment. That is your week ahead. We'll see you again tomorrow.